Hey everyone, welcome to the Morning Grind Podcast. I'm your host, Stevie TPFL. You heard Dan talk T-Mobile home runs because he's off this week. I'm the only show in town this week, so if you listen to the Fantasy Fix after the Morning Grind, you're not going to have the Fantasy Fix this weekend, but I promise you this week, I'm going to have the fix for you, and I'm going to have the fantasy talk. So if you haven't listened to the Morning Grind and you're a Fantasy Fix guy, welcome to the right show. I'm kidding, Dan. I'm kidding, but not really. It's July 4th. It's Monday. We have a lot of baseball. We have a lot of fireworks going off behind us as well. So if you guys hear the fireworks, you just have to understand that it's 4th of July. Everybody's excited. Joined today by my old pal, your old pal. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's your old pal Emac here, and those are the fireworks behind me. It sounds like the grand finale going on over at our neighbor's house. They did a few test runs last night. I was kind of hoping they'd do it tomorrow night, but with the holiday followed up by a work day, it might be tonight. So I'll miss it this year. I can look out the window though and see it.
Well, we can definitely hear it, so you know it's a good show. I got to see fireworks at the race last night. They do a massive fireworks show for Daytona, so that was a lot of fun. I hope you guys checked out the coverage here that we had for the NASCAR stuff this week. I'm wearing my Stars and Stripe Red Sox hat. I'm in the mood to talk some July 4th baseball, but before we get into that, we got to talk about our sponsor site, FantasyDraft.com. They have an interesting slate here. It's a lot different than a lot of other sites. They're only doing the 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock games here today. So if you want to switch it up and you want to play a different slate, maybe you're going to a barbecue tomorrow night and you're not going to have time to do the late slate, check out Fantasy Draft. Use promo code GRINDERS. That way you get incentives here for Fantasy Draft on Roto Grinders for free for a year, and you get a 100% deposit bonus up to $600. Emac, we're going to talk all 15 games. There's all kinds of slates all across the industry. We're the only show in town. We're going to talk about baseball today, and we're going to start with your Washington Nationals taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Max Scherzer against Junior Herrera. This is a good game for Max. When you think?
Absolutely. And I believe the only site that I have seen this game on is actually FanDuel. And it's an 11:05 start. The main reason they do this is because, hey, in our nation's capital, we do celebrate the Day of Independence, the birth of our country, officially, and they do it upright. So they want to get people into town for the ball game and get them out of town because it's pretty crazy throughout the day. There are parades, there are all kind of festivities around the monuments, and then there's a massive fireworks display in the evening. So this is almost always the Nats do play here on the 4th of July. However, it's usually this super early game. So if you want to play Max Scherzer, it's going to have to be FanDuel, and it's on this slate.
Well, on this slate then, the all-day slate over on FanDuel, Max has to be probably top 3, if not the top pitcher here.
I would completely agree. It looks like they're doing mostly an all-day slate, so you're going to have to approach this with a little bit of game theory. Now, there aren't that many large prize pools. It looks like there's only $500 guaranteed prize pools in the lobby. However, a little bit of a secret, if you go to the leagues, you can get in the $10 and the $25 leagues, 100-man leagues, and they are 4, 5, and 4 and 5 times the size of what is in the GPPs, and those will fill. So do not despair. There are contests out there. You just got to look a little bit harder for them, but they will be there. I suspect we will see Scherzer on approximately 40 to 50% of all lineups. However, the trick is going to be guessing who is going to be starting as the pump plays, the platoon players in those late games.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Scherzer, you're going to face a really right-handed heavy lineup here. He has a 36.5% strikeout rate to righties dating back to last year. Been very dominant against righties, dating back to last year, .69 whip. So the great matchup for Scherzer. Now, Herrera on the other side of this game. Oh, man. What are our thoughts here? Nationals have been hot, man. I think I'm going Nationals bats where I can.
Well, just in case you were wondering and you hadn't watched the game today, yes, Danny Espinosa hit another grand slam today. He got one on Thursday, I think it was, against Cincinnati. He got one today. So he is absolutely on fire. He has 17 home runs now, which is rather impressive. I think we can look to Harper. He got a home run tonight. Wilson Ramos also got a home run. I don't know that he'll be playing. Got to be careful with that one. We'll know in time, but I wouldn't put him in lineups because he's played the last several days, and with it being an early game, they very well may give the backup a shot.
Emac, how dare you try to take a home run from Espinosa? He hit 2 on Sunday or Saturday, and no, it was Sunday. He hit 2 on Sunday against Cincinnati, and now has 18 home runs this season.
Oh goodness, I must have missed one because he had 2 on Thursday also. Oh boy, and I didn't play him because he's no longer priced like Danny Espinosa.
No, he's priced like the new improved juicing Danny Espinosa. I'm not taking any Milwaukee bats here. Don't mind Espinosa at shortstop. Don't mind Murphy. Don't mind Harper. Harper on a big stage game. This seems like a good Harper game. I
would completely agree with that. And it also, I think Ben Revere is another sneaky play. He's a little spendy, 3,700. But if we look at his game logs from the 27th on, he had 43 FanDuel points, 0, 6, 18, 12. He's getting it done. He's getting some steals. He's getting some hits. Not a bad way to go. He's had a couple multi-hit games there, one with 3 and one with 4. Now, one of those was an extra inning affair, but he's doing okay. So if not on FanDuel, you may want to look at him on the other sides. He did get today off.
I am not paying $3,700 for Revere on a full all-day slate. I can't do it.
All right. Well, I just throw it out there because there might. Who knows? One of the other sites, these small sites that we're not going to mention, not that we're not mentioning them, I'm just not playing on them, but that some other site may have the 11 o'clock game. So that's about enough for the 11 o'clock game.
Early slate time. The early slate starts with these 1 o'clock games, and it starts in Tampa. We got the Angels at the Rays. Matt Moore, Nick Tropiano. Oh, Matt Moore. We don't take pitchers against the Angels. They just don't strike out, right?
Yeah, and they score a lot of runs. Well, if we count their last 2 games, they've scored a lot of runs.
Yeah, unless they're facing Sean O'Sullivan.
Well, what about the 22 that they had on Saturday?
Yeah, but I didn't play them on Saturday. I took Saturday off to do my racing stuff, and of course, I played them against good old Sean Sullivan. And yeah, we all know how that story ends. Nick Tropiano on the other side here. I like his strikeout upside. He's a guy that has shown that strikeout upside at times this year. The Rays strike out a ton. It's a good ballpark for him. I don't mind him here on a 2-pitcher side. I don't think I can go with him on FanDuel, though.
I would agree. We're more worried about the win, and I'm not sure that he is in a good position to get it. Looking at the odds, it looks like he's a 120 favorite on the early overnight odds.
Yeah, I will say when he faced Tampa earlier this season, he put up 10 strikeouts. That's the type of upside that you can see here. Gave up some runs in that game, so I definitely think he's in play. Now, looking at the bats in this game, we'll start with the Angels. Matt Moore, a guy that he struggles with hard contact to righties and home runs to righties. Mike Trout, one of the best right-handed hitters in baseball. This is a good spot for Trout.
Absolutely agree with that. No further analysis needed.
I think today is a good day to target the star players. It's a national stage. It's July 4th. There's going to be a lot of fans in the stands. It's a good day to target big-name hitters.
Yes, and there's a good chance that they will all play, as you mentioned. Just a quick correction for myself. It looks like I read that backwards. The Tampa Bay Rays are actually minus 120 favorites, so double vote no on Tropiano for 9,200.
Albert Pujols, CJ Cron, 3,300, 3,100. You got to decide between one of them on FanDuel playing first base. If you had to choose, which one would you go with?
I'm actually going to go with CJ. After his phenomenal game on Saturday, it almost feels like chasing points, but he's a little bit younger. Pujols has played several days in a row now. I'm just going to go with the youth movement.
No, I don't think it's chasing points. He's hitting 282 this year. He has 9 home runs. He has extra base hits. I don't think it's chasing points at all. We want righties against Moore. It's as simple as that. Escobar, if he's at the top of the order, really solid play as well. Tampa bats here. I get really weird about Tampa bats because there's not anybody that I love. But every day I'm always falling into Corey Dickerson way too cheap for his upside type play.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with that. He's let's see here. It looks like he's 3,200. Is that correct? Can't tell. I don't know that my VLOOKUPs are working for me. 34. Oh, there we go. I have the wrong column open. 3,400. So, yeah, I fall into that. I think he keeps bubbling up to the top of a lot of the models because of his time in Coors Field. He is still a solid hitter. He still has upside, and a lefty-righty matchup is good, but he's been batting 6th and 7th the last couple games. That concerns me. Brad Miller's another guy I really like. However, 3,700 for him on FanDuel. So I'm not as thrilled about that either. Do you think James Loney is in play? Do we use up a first base spot on James Loney?
I'm guessing you mean Logan Morrison, right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
James Loney plays for the Mets and was with the Rays for a long time. I think that's why you're thinking James Loney.
That my apologies. Look, your old pal Emacs had a long weekend. So yes, Logan Morrison, friend of the podcast, Boggs Light, Paul Arrington, one of his favorite players to not be a fan of.
Yeah, I don't ever play Morrison. Never play Morrison. I don't. No upside. Texas at Boston. I'm repping my Boston hat right now. And they get Nick Martinez at Fenway on July 4th. You can guarantee yourself I'm going to have Red Sox stacks today. That's all I want to say. All
right. Well, for my first home run pick, I'm taking David Ortiz tonight.
I got first pick tonight. I got dibs.
I noticed a couple other hosts this last week picked Ortiz. The word is out, Stevie. It's a movement.
Rick Porcello, Nick Martinez. Absolutely zero interest in Nick Martinez. And I think Texas is good enough where I'll probably stay away from Porcello as well.
I'm going to agree. It's a 15-game slate. I don't think we really need to go there.
Yeah, even if you're playing the early slate, there's still enough options that you don't need Rick Porcello. In a good spot to get a win. I will say that. If I had to pick the winner pitcher of the day, Porcello's in a good spot to pick up a win because I'm all over the Red Sox here. Love this matchup.
Yes. I was just trying to look up one thing. I'm trying to figure out, it seems like Profar's not playing nearly as much that everybody's healthy. He's still up with the big club, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he'll play a little bit here if Mitch Moreland misses sometimes.
All right. Well, this sounds like the grand finale right now for my neighbors.
That's okay. We're getting the people in the mood for July 4th today. That's the whole point of the podcast. Nick Martinez beat Boston on June 24th, 6th inning, 4 earned runs, 6 hits, 2 home runs in that game, only 2 strikeouts. I like the Red Sox to top that performance here at Boston. I think they're going to put up some runs. Let's talk bats in this game. We'll start with the Texas team visiting here. Porcello's decent. Is he a guy you're going to target some bats against?
I'm okay with Shin-Soo Choo. He had a nice home run tonight, but Porcello is actually a pretty solid pitcher. Not that you want to take him, but you don't really want to pick on him as much. I definitely would look to the lefties. It seems that Mazzara hasn't been in the lineup quite as often either. I think now that Prince Fielder's healthy, they're juggling people around between Odor, Profar, Mazzara, and Fielder, but we will have this lineup even before the all-day slate locks. You can look at a lefties. Anybody in the top 5 of the batting order is okay. Probably as a one-off. I don't think I would go for a stack here.
Yep, I think Fielder's very playable at 2,700 on FanDuel. Odor 2,800. Mazzara, if he cracks the lineup, 2,800. You can get some cheap value here from the Texas bats if these guys are in the lineup. Looking at the Red Sox, I want Ortiz today. He's hitting a shot. It's July 4th. It's his last Stars and Stripes uniform hat day. I want all the narratives. I want David Ortiz in some lineups here today.
Yes.
And
darn fine analysis there. Yes.
Well, if you want the analysis, he comes in first on my model by 4 or 5 points.
Oh, I agree. Heck, I already picked him in our home run derby contest.
No,
he has my vote.
Red Sox. I love the Red Sox stack here. I'm not going to try to one-off anybody outside of Ortiz. I'm really going to stack this offense and hope they put up some runs here against Martinez.
That works for me.
Seattle at Houston. Lance McCullers against Wade Miley. Wade Miley, don't love him, but he doesn't usually get rocked. And he's a guy that has a really decent ground ball rate, really high medium contact rate, doesn't give up a lot of hard contact. What's your thoughts here against Miley at Houston?
I kind of want to stay away from it. Houston, always dangerous. Miley can be hit or miss. I don't know that I want to attack him. I'm definitely not going to play him. But outside of probably Altuve and Springer, I think I'm not too fired up to go against him, which surprises me a little bit. But looking at some of these numbers, that's kind of where I'm going to stand.
Yeah, I don't mind Altuve. I think Houston has a stack. If they do get to Miley, it's going to be a good amount of runs here. It is at Houston. It's a good hitter's ballpark. The righties have the advantage in this ballpark against the righty-lefty, splits here. It's definitely interesting. So for the most part, if I play Houston here, I think it's going to be Altuve, Correa, Springer type stack.
I would be good with that one. I'm just double checking here. Yeah, Altuve, 3,800. That's doable.
Yeah. Lance McCullers on the other side of this. I've said it multiple times. This guy really is really interesting. He has a really good knuckle curveball. I like Lance McCullers as a pitcher. I just don't know if I'm going to target Lance McCullers against this Seattle offense that doesn't get enough credit, in my opinion.
I'm actually okay with McCullers. He is 8,700 on FanDuel. He left his last start, or he actually had it skipped with a bit of a blister injury. Now, blisters can always flare up again, but he's had looks like a full 10 days at least since his last start, so I'm hoping he's okay. In 42 at-bats against current Mariners, he has a 190, 255, 286 slash line, and a 40% strikeout rate. Now, that's a very small sample size, but as you mentioned, Seattle's actually the second best offense this season against right-handed pitching. I'm okay going with him. Tournaments, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think the upside's there, but I think the floor is very small. I will say that I think and the thing is, so far what we've seen from McCullers, he doesn't give up home runs to lefties. 0.32 home run per nine since getting called up last year. He doesn't give up home runs to lefties. And the righties, when he faces the righties, his strikeout rate definitely goes up a little bit against righties. Or actually, his strikeout rate's higher against lefties. I was reading that wrong. But yeah, so if they throw out a really left-handed lineup, it could be an interesting tournament play here.
Yeah, and that's actually what the Mariners have done the last few days. They've got Leonis Martinez healthy again, so they've been leading him off. Seth has been batting second. They've got Cano, they've got Seager, and then they have Adam Lind. So I think there's a chance they roll a bunch of lefties.
Looking at bats, we talked about the Houston bats already. Seattle, what are you doing with the Mariners here?
I think they've used up a lot of their runs. I kind of rode them today and yesterday. Got 2 out of 3 home run calls on my show with cards. I picked 3 Mariners, and 2 of them got home runs. Just with the way McCullers is, I don't see the upside for them. Again, they're a dangerous team, which is surprising to say, but I'm actually solid with McCullers today, so I don't think I'll be looking out to them. And I've been again, as I mentioned, I've been riding them the last 2 days. So.
I think if you're going to play anybody, you play Cruz, because what we've seen from McCullers, his strikeout rate is definitely good against lefties. Righties, it's really decent, but he has a much higher walk rate to righties. So I think that he might try to kind of pitch around Cruz, and that could always lead to a mispitch. And if you want a tournament play, Cruz would be the guy that I would look at. Yankees at the White Sox, James Shields, CC Sabathia. Oh, buddy. Yankees against Shields. Shields coming off of a decent start here against the Twins. Picked up his first win since May 12th. Took him almost 2 months to pick up a win. What's your thoughts here on Shields and Sabathia?
Well, I want to pick on Shields quite a bit. Here's my reasoning. Is he the guy that had the good outing in his last start, or the guy that gave up 35 earned runs in the previous 5? I think it's the latter. Let's target Shields today.
He's given up 29 home runs in his last 136 innings to lefties. Gardner, McCann, Ellsbury, Teixeira starting to get hot at the plate. If Beltran's back, it'd be interesting. It really is. It's a hamstring with Beltran. He sat out this weekend. He's going to want to play here today if he's healthy enough. They'll let him play. Like the Yankee stack a lot here. It's a team that I'm going to be targeting quite a bit.
Yes, and special shout out. I did the Sunday Fun Day show with Eric Crane, and he pointed out that the Yankees lefties were a key play today. I want to give him a shout out because that made my day work out from a bad day to a solid day.
Nice. That's always a good thing. I like Crane. Crane's a good guy.
Yeah, just because we hammered it home on the show about 5 times, take lefties against Andrew Cashner.
That's true. Always do that. Every day I give out 3 guys that I like on fantasy draft. My first one actually comes from this game, and it's been a guy that we've kind of avoided for the most part this season, but love his price tag on draft. It's $6,000. It's Mark Teixeira. I expect him to be in that 4 or 5 spot. He's starting to look a lot healthier at the plate. He has a couple home runs over the last few games. I like Teixeira a lot here.
No qualms about that because he was one of the guys that hooked me up today. So I can't argue with that, Stevie.
Yeah, since returning from the DL on the 25th, and I think he sat out a couple games. I don't know if But anyway, since the 25th, he has looked a lot better. He has hits in 6 of those 8 games, and he has 4 home runs. So it's always good to see Teixeira get back to that home run swing. He's definitely a guy that has the pop. Now, looking at the White Sox here against Sabathia, I think Sabathia is an interesting play because he's so good against lefties, and you're really only worried about Abreu, Frazier, and Lowry here as the righties.
I agree. And are we that worried about Frazier? He's kind of home. He is the new Danny Espinosa, home run or bust.
That is true. I guess we could throw Tim Anderson out there as well. Tim Anderson's been swinging a pretty good bat since he got called up. So he's definitely another guy that we can look at. Sabathia, do we really get excited? He's really struggled in his last 2 starts. So tournament play, and I'm not against stacking those 3 or 4 right-handed White Sox bats against him.
Yeah, this is one of the games that's actually looks like it's starting out on the fantasy draft slate. Just a reminder, in his last 2 games, he's gone 11 1/3 innings with 18 base runners and 11 earned runs, only 5 strikeouts. Grand total of 2.05 fantasy points.
I will say, one of those starts were against the Rockies, and then the other one was against the Rangers, who the Rangers have been a good offense this year.
Yeah. But just is it that they're good offenses, or potentially is Sabathia kind of getting a little tired, or the league figuring out his new approach to pitching?
Look, I'm all for White Sox. Those 4 righties, I'm all for a White Sox stack here.
All right. I don't know that I'll play it, but I can see it happening.
Oakland at Minnesota, Ricky Nolasco, Kendall Graveman, 2 of the worst pitchers on the slate. And I'm not even going to be nice to them. These guys suck. I'm guessing you don't want any exposure here?
To the batters, I do.
Let's talk hitters in this game. We'll start with the visiting team, Oakland. Is it time to finally play Josh Reddick?
It absolutely is. He's kind of a guy that's at the top of my list here. He missed some time there. I believe it was I want to say it was a right.
He broke his thumb.
Oh, broken thumb. Okay.
He slid into second base and broke his thumb.
Okay, so he's been out for quite a while. Over his last 770 at-bats against right-handed pitchers, he has a 366 WOBA and a 210 ISO. You can get him for $3,000 on FanDuel. You can get him for $8,000 on Fantasy Draft. I think both are very fair prices. He should be batting 3rd, is my guess, on Monday. So I think I will have a fair amount of him.
Yep, and he's my second Fantasy Draft play under 8K that I'm going to be targeting quite a bit here. Love this matchup for him. What else excites you about this Oakland offense? I have interest in Danny Valencia. I don't think a lot of people are going to be playing him, but he's getting the start every day this season. He's been a lot better against righties compared to his career stats. And Ricky Nolasco, 365 WOBA with a 33% hard contact rate to righties dating back to last year.
I think we're going to look for a stack here, and I think we can see if Stephen Vogt is in the lineup. I think Chris Davis is in the mix. And then I'm going to say, I almost said Chris Coughlin, but he is no longer with. Wait, he is with them, right?
Yeah, he's not with Chicago anymore. I got so many tweets that we messed that up that night.
I know. I'm fixing this in my database right now.
There you go. Looking at the other side here, against Kendall Graveman, not a big strikeout guy. He gives up a lot of hits that we want to target here. Struggles to lefties and righties. And it's a good spot to target Nunez and Dozier. They're a little pricey, but they're going to be a little overlooked here.
Oh, is Dozier really going to be overlooked? He seems to be heating up. Let me rephrase that. Is he going to be overlooked by the savvy gamers? I'm thinking not. By the casual gamers, probably, because it's Dozier. He's not that exciting, but he's been pretty good for the last 2 weeks.
Nunez, a guy that I really like here in this spot. When we look at Graveman, not only does he struggle with righties, he struggles with home runs to righty. Nunez has 11 home runs this season. He's hitting .319. So not only does he give you that floor, he also gives you multi-hit upside with that home run upside here in this matchup.
I'm good with that. And just for the record, I have now fixed Chris Coughlin in my database.
That is good. Max Kepler.
I don't want you to get tweets again, Stevie. I don't want you to get tweets on my behalf.
Max Kepler, Grossman, Buxton, any of these guys interest you here?
I'm okay with Kepler, but I think some of that's he had 2 home runs a couple games ago. He at least had one, or maybe had back-to-back days. I think it's small sample size, or pardon me, recency bias. I forget my little trends here. Recency bias. But he's on my radar and someone I'm kind of looking at. I don't know that I will play him tomorrow on the full slate, but it's someone that kind of makes the initial cull of the player pool for me.
Pittsburgh at St. Louis, Carlos Martinez, Jonathan Nice. Martinez, is he a guy we might look at here against a Pittsburgh team that has been really good or really bad this year?
I am okay with him. I hate to do the cop-out and say probably tournaments, but I could get behind him as an SP2, depending on if you're playing one of the early only slate on DraftKings or Fantasy Feud perhaps. But he's not jumping out at me. I think I'm a little biased towards Lance McCullers. That could be an incorrect thing. Now we do have some time overnight to ponder that and sleep on it here, but I have him as my number 3 pitcher today.
Very fair. We're going to talk about Kyle Hendricks here in a minute. Another guy.
Make that Carlos Martinez as my number 4 pitcher.
lot of interesting options on the slate, that's for sure. And we're going to get to Matt Harvey at or taking on Miami, who's only 13,000 on draft today. So a lot of options. Carlos Martinez, 17-2, very fair price tag for him here. I like him on FanDuel as well. I'm not a big Jonathan Nice fan. I don't know why they haven't called up Glasnow and Nice has gone to the bullpen, but they have it, and we got to respect what the coaches want. And the thing about Nice is he's been getting hit. He's been giving up a lot of hits, a Cardinals team that is very good offensively. I think Martinez picks up the win here, gets some run support, and I want some of these St. Louis bats.
Indeed. I was kind of hoping that there'd be a rainout today because I kind of liked the matchup for the Cardinals, but now they are going against Nice. I'm okay with Piscotty, definitely Piscotty. Probably talk myself into Holiday, and don't overlook Matt Carpenter in a lefty-lefty matchup. He has, over his last 500 plate appearances, a 340 WOBA against lefties. So I think a lot of people are going to look at his price on the various sites and move away from him. I think that's a mistake because Nice can give up the home runs.
Is this finally the issue that we've seen with McCutchen? Is it his heel that has been bothering him, that this is finally the time that we might see McCutchen take, 4, 5, 6 days off?
I think it would be to his benefit and to the team's benefit to cobble that together with the All-Star break that's coming up. In a funny note, on our show Saturday, STL Cards picked McCutchen as his cheap home run option at 2,900.
I agree with you on Piscotty, Diaz. I don't mind him, Johnny Peralta. But I wanted to talk about the McCutchen thing. Yeah, I just don't like any of the Pittsburgh bats. I'm not really in love. I can get behind Polanco or maybe Joyce, but I'm not going crazy here. Love Piscotty. I think that's an excellent call, and I don't even mind Matt Holliday at his cheap price.
Yeah, that seems to be the way to go from this. Martinez is he's good enough that while I said I may not be picking him as my pitcher, I don't want to take any hitters against him.
Yep, I agree. Cincinnati at Chicago taking on the Cubs. Cody Reed against Kyle Hendricks. Cody Reed, small sample size, but he's really struggled against righties. Really small sample size against lefties. He's been okay, but that's the to be expected with a left-handed pitcher. So we're going to talk bats here in a second. What's your thoughts on Hendricks? He's a guy that we're always worried about pitch count when it comes to Hendricks. He threw a lot of pitches in his last start because the Cubs used up their bullpen the night before. I'm a little hesitant because I'm worried about the pitch count. It's an excellent matchup here against the Reds, though.
Those are fair points. The Cubs are a 260 moneyline favorite to get the win. Hendricks, over his last 3 games, has averaged just under 45 FanDuel points. And the Reds have an 86 WRC+. WRC+ is weighted runs created plus. It's an advanced metric that neutralizes ballpark factors and creates a league-wide scoring efficiency baseline of 100. So that means they score 15% less than the average team, than the benchmark team does. So all signs point to me taking Hendricks tomorrow.
I'm going to tell you again. I'm worried about the pitch count.
I think that's it's an absolutely fair point, and I did overlook that, but everything else is shaping up there for us.
Yeah, Reds definitely a team that we want to pick on right-handed pitching, and we want to pick on Cody Reed with Chris Bryant, Ben Zobrist, Contreras. We want these right-handed bats here.
Oh, don't forget Javier Baez, and let's take a lefty with Anthony Rizzo, who has a 387 WOBA in his last 400 at-bats against lefties.
Do not sleep on Ben Zobrist. He is so good against left-handed pitching. I wanted to say it slow so you guys would understand what I was saying.
Very fair. Did you know that as an individual, he has a 151 WRC+? Now, it's a little tougher to measure this as individuals, but it means that he creates, via scoring himself or RBIs, 51% more runs than the average hitter against lefties. That's pretty darn impressive.
Very impressive. Very good against lefties. Just saying. Do you want any bats here for the Reds against Kyle Hendricks?
Oh, maybe Joey Votto. Adam Duvall got the day off on Sunday. It's a righty-righty matchup. He's been pretty good against righties, just shy of 300 plate appearances, 352 WOBA, 330 ISO. He had that home run tear at the beginning of the season. I think I'm just going to vote no on this. But if we hear some buzz on people, or you see that people in the rankings have Hendricks up really high, then you can always look to the Reds as kind of a differentiation play. I wanted to point out today that a lot of people had, and myself included, had Lester ranked fairly high today, and he kind of got waxed. That's going to happen from time to time in baseball. It's a variant sport. It's a sport based on failure. We talk about that all the time. A pitcher's going to make 30 starts a year. 10, he's not going to have his stuff. 10, he's going to have his stuff. That's every pitcher. It's the other 10 that's going to make a difference. So good pitchers are going to have bad days. We've seen it with Kershaw. We've seen it with Arrieta. We've seen it with Lester. The list goes on and on. So you don't want to overly marry yourself to someone. And if you choose your spots wisely and get a little bit lucky, you can really move up against the other teams in the tournaments.
Now, looking at this matchup, just overall, Joey Votto has hit Hendricks in a small sample size really well. He's 4 for 6 with 2 home runs. It's a smaller sample size, but you know me, I'm BVP to a max. 5 walks in 11 plate appearances against Hendricks. So obviously Votto has his number so far. So it's a small sample size for Duvall, 2 for 3 with a home run. So if you're going to play any Reds here to be contrarian, it's those 2 guys.
No Jay Bruce for you?
No Jay Bruce for me.
Okay. And what does BVP stand for again? Better versus Porter?
That's
Is
right.
that okay? Just checking.
Colorado at San Francisco. Jake Peavy, Tyler Anderson. EMAC, I'm going to need you to talk me out of Tyler Anderson here as a tournament play.
Just say no.
But you gotta sell me on more than just say no, though.
All right, let me call up my little magic sheet here. Un momento.
You can say the Giants don't strike out. You can say they have one of the best WRC pluses. I'm gonna listen to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with this. I don't want to do it. They're solid up and down the lineup. They, between Posey and Bell and Crawford and Denard Span, they're always in the mix. They're always just coming at you forever. Those guys all hit lefties well. Yes, 3 of them are lefties themselves, but they all hit lefties pretty well. I just don't want to tangle with them.
Tyler Anderson's a good pitcher. He's another young guy that the Colorado Rockies they have produced some really good young pitchers, and I'm gonna risk it here. He's a guy that doesn't give up a lot of home runs, even at Coors, and he's going to a very, very favorable pitcher's ballpark here. He has a massive ground ball rate. I actually have some interest on FanDuel. 6,200 it's really cheap to take a shot on a guy where you know you're going to get a lot of the bats in from like Boston and these other spots that we've talked about. I really have some interest. I'm not saying he's going to go out and strike out 10 people, but 6 innings, 5 or 6 hits, maybe a 1 or 2 runs, and 5 strikeouts. It seems doable here for Tyler Anderson.
That completely does. And basically what you've described is almost a 30-point FanDuel outing. If we look at his last 4 games and see, you always seem to do this. And by tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about Tyler Anderson because I'm going to have to look at this more tonight. In his last 4 starts, he's gotten into at least the 6th inning in all of them. He's only allowing about, doing the math, carrying the one, about 1.3 base runners per inning. And he's averaging over a strikeout per inning. He hasn't gotten the win in any of those 4 games. And his numbers are 34 FanDuel points, 23, 35, and 30. I can live with that for 6,200, Stevie. Darn it, you tricked me into this.
18 innings pitched at Coors Field, 1 home run. That's all I'm going to say. 18 innings at Coors Field, 1 home run. It is not the best matchup in the world. It really isn't. You mentioned, guys, Crawford, Bell, Posey. These guys hit left-handed pitching really well. Denard Span dealing with a little bit of an injury. And the bottom of the Giants order, they're dealing with so many injuries right now. It just doesn't scare me. It just doesn't scare me.
Yeah, those are good points. Panic's on the 7-day DL. He had some late developing concussion symptoms that came up about 4 or 5 days after he got hit in the head with a pitch. And then Gregor Blanco was a late scratch today also. So I don't know what the deal is with
Pagan's dealing with something. Span has a neck injury that he was sent for an MRI on Sunday. I'm pulling up the Pagan injury. General soreness. He'll be back in the lineup, I would guess. But, man, it's just without Hunter Pence and Matt Duffy in this lineup, it really hurts this lineup overall in general.
All right. Well, here we have the Stevie TPFL sneaky pitcher of the day.
If you read FanDuel incentives tomorrow, there's a good chance Tyler Anderson's going to be a pitcher that I write up. Peavy, on the other hand, Jake Peavy. What do we do here with Peavy? The Rockies.
Too many lefties. Too many lefties for the Rockies, Stevie.
Yeah, just Peavy struggles against lefties, and he has throughout his career. He struggled with lefties. Just not a good matchup for him here.
Well, after 3 straight games of exactly 39 FanDuel points, reeling us all in, thinking we can trust him, he got 1 in his last start.
Welcome to Oakland, buddy. Welcome to Oakland. We were definitely interested in that start. I'm not interested here. I don't mind Cargo and Blackman. Think they're solid options. Trevor Story, one of my favorite players this year, but with him dealing with this injury, I'm going to wait to see him start hitting the ball hard again. He got hit in the hand. That hurts. Yeah,
I was mentioning this earlier this week. I almost wonder if they just have him sit out through the All-Star break. I don't think he played today. He did not play on Saturday. I'm just wondering if it's a bit of a hairline fracture and they're not necessarily being forthcoming about it.
It was encouraging to see him get a pinch hit on Sunday.
Okay. That is a good sign.
I want to see him. I need to see a couple home runs. I really do. I want to see the power. Getting hit in the hand, when you hit the baseball, you get vibration into your hands. It's part of wood bats. It's part of baseball in general. And if you're dealing with a finger injury, it hurts, man. So even I don't see him going to the DL because we only have another few days, a week or so before we're going to get into the All-Star break. So even if he lingers, the thing is on FanDuel, he's 2,200. He's punt playable. So if you want to risk him, 2,200 is a punt play.
That I had not seen him down.
I didn't either.
Low.
Man, it made me rethink my whole Trevor Story rant. But anyway,
right. But we're not going to edit that out. We're leaving that in.
I am leaving that in just for everybody to listen.
Because we don't edit. We're one take, Stevie. One take and one take only.
That's right. Atlanta at Philadelphia. One last time, Atlanta at Philadelphia. Two of the worst offenses in baseball. Jared Eichhoff against Joel De La Cruz. Atlanta at Philadelphia.
I am voting no because I think I'm actually going to play Eichhoff. I'm going to put him in consideration now. He was my number 3 pitcher. That's why I had to bump Martinez down to 4. So I think I'm looking at Eichhoff. He's been sneaky. He's kind of like last time I talked him up, I mentioned he's a lot like Jimmy Nelson. He's good against righties, not so good against lefties. Kind of like Tyson Ross also. I think this matchup's going to work out pretty well for him. The Braves, I haven't looked it up recently, but I think as a team, they have like 45 home runs this year. As a team. That's against everybody. Not lefties, not just righties, but everybody. Not a good number.
Yeah, it's 43 home runs. So,
ooh, not bad.
You were right on the money there. The problem for Eichhoff here is Freddie Freeman is El Fuego right now. Mm-hmm. He is hitting everything. And if you were going to tell me he was going to walk Freddie Freeman 4 or 5 times that he's going to face him, I'm in. The problem is Freddie Freeman can do some massive damage here. And the Braves just don't strike out a lot too. So they are a bad offense. They're last in the league in WRC plus against righties this season. They're striking out less than 20% of the time though. 0 power. Eichhoff as a SP2 on DraftKings or fantasy draft. I'm in. FanDuel, I think there's better options at his price here.
I like to play over there on Fantasy Feud. He is at 107 over there. Not terrible, but he is the 4th most expensive pitcher there. You can do a lot. There's no awesome pitchers on this slate, but if you're looking as a 3rd pitcher, I on this slate, here we go. I'd go Carlos Martinez, Kyle Hendricks, and Jared Eichhoff on that side as my 3 pitchers.
Joel De La Cruz, 6 innings, 7 hits against Cleveland. Only gave up 1 K. Only had 1 K. Gave up 1 walk. I think he only gave up a couple earned runs in that start. It was not a bad start, especially for people that stacked against him like myself. We kind of got burned on his decent start here in that game. It was 3 earned runs and a home run to a lefty. So Herrera, Franco, Joseph, maybe. I don't know. It's a big slate. I don't know where I really want to pick on the Cruz.
No, that's fair. And I was actually a fan of the Phillies today, and I had them as a mini stack on the early only slate for Sunday. I don't think I'm going to go there today. Nobody's popping out of me. I would rather go with Freddie Freeman than any of the Phillies from the same game.
Miami at New York taking on the Mets. Matt Harvey, Tom Kohler. I kind of alluded to it a little while ago. Matt Harvey on Fantasy Draft. Let's talk about this. He is only 13-8 on draft, and Kohler's 13-6. If you want double-digit fantasy points, I think you can look at both these guys, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I'm last I saw for the Sunday night game, the Miami was getting shut out. It was like the fourth or fifth inning. It was 2-0. They just don't seem to be having it together. But if we're looking at Harvey, here's his last three games: 8 fantasy draft points, 10.7, 10.1. That's not a lot. And that was against Washington. Okay, tough matchup, and against Atlanta twice. I rank the Marlins a much, much better team than Atlanta, so I think I'm going to have to stay away from Harvey tomorrow.
Yeah, but Atlanta has owned Harvey. I talked about it, both those starts on the podcast. They've owned him. Like, their BVP against Harvey is really solid. Looking back further past that, the earned runs have not been there outside of the 2 games against Atlanta. He's given up 1 earned run in 5 out of his last 7, and both the ones that he didn't give up more than 1, it was against Atlanta both times. So I think Harvey's starting to pitch better. I think this is a good matchup for him. I really like him on Fantasy Draft and DraftKings at his price tag.
To be fair, back at the beginning of June, he did face the Marlins in Miami. 7 innings, 4 hits, no walks, 1 earned run, just 3 strikeouts.
Yeah, but
17 points.
If he gives us 17 DraftKings points at 7,000, and they have all these big tournaments for 4th of July, like, we can't go wrong with that, right?
I would agree. Yet another one that you're slowly talking me into. I got to get out of this cash game mindset. Cash games are we got to focus more on tournaments from here on out. Once we hit the All-Star break, cash games are going to dry up even more than they already have.
Tom Kohler, when he struggles, it's against lefties. He's been a double-digit machine on Fantasy Draft this season. It hasn't been pretty, but when we look at it, there's been a lot of double-digit games from him this year. I think only 3 or 4 games that he started that he hasn't put up double-digit points. And the Mets offense, still an offense that is not great. I think he's another guy we can look at for double-digit fantasy points on Draft and DraftKings.
I'm just looking at his game log. He is pretty consistently getting quality starts. So I will reluctantly agree, but I'm going to agree, especially with no more Michael Conforto. He's down in the minor leagues. No David Wright. I think Granderson is back. I think he got a home run, but nobody else really scares me. I mean, if you're going to sit there and worry about Neil Walker, Travis d'Arnaud, Asdrubal Cabrera, who had 2 home runs on Friday, Wilmer Flores, who had 2 home runs today, those aren't the guys that are going to inspire fear in you.
Just looking at the people in his price range, and Harvey in general, you have Cody Reed, Wade Miley, CC Sabathia, Jake Peavy, Ricky Nolasco. These are the cheap guys you're looking at. And outside of Tyler Anderson, who I touched on a little while ago, I think Harvey and Kohler actually give you that double-digit floor. And that's going to be interesting to see how the day plays out. I don't think either one of them are in play on FanDuel. I honestly don't, because give me a winner of this game, and I don't think you can do it.
Yeah, there's Vegas has Harvey and the Mets as a -150 favorite, 3.5 implied run total for Miami, 7.5 over under. So I mean, we're staring 2 quality starts right in the face there. If we look at that.
Yeah, and you want to talk injuries up and down the lineups for both these teams. We know Wright, Duda, they've been out for a long time now. Asdrubal Cabrera, he's been a staple in that 2 spot, dealing with a knee injury. Justin Bour sprained his ankle on Saturday. If he's out of the lineup, you just got to bump, our boy Harvey even more. Like, outside of Cespedes, Yelich, Granderson, Stanton, Ozuna, we're not too worried. I guess you could throw Dietrich out there, but I think this is a good game to look at pitchers. I really do.
I kind of like the way we're landing on this. So that's one that's worth digging into a little more. But we don't want to be like me and dismiss it completely. So this is why you got to talk through this stuff. It's always helpful. Second set of eyes. You know what we always say, Stevie? We like a lot of different sources of information and different perspectives, because then there might be something that you missed or you didn't see, and you can look at something again, or you might get confirmation from independent sources that the path you were on was, well, maybe not the, quote, right one, but at least on paper, the appropriate one.
Before we get out of this late slate here, or this early slate, my last fantasy draft play, not going to come from this game. We were going on here, and Jacoby Ellsbury, 8,000 on Fantasy Draft. Another guy that you could really make as a staple for a solid floor in this game.
Sounds good to me.
Emac, do you know what happens when you screw up with your wife or something?
I think you need to get her something nice.
That's right. So you're going to head on over to Books. Rule number 1 of Mandem: no matter what you do around the house, you're likely to screw it up. Don't need to tell you that. Your wife told me. What can I say? She talks. Anyway, I can help you smooth out pretty much anything. Just send flowers from Books.com. That's right, Books.com. No woman in her right mind would turn away a peace offering of Books flowers. Books flowers are grown at an eco-friendly farm on the side of a volcano. Seriously, a volcano. Books prices start at a mere $40. There are no upcharges, no extra fees. Even delivery is absolutely free when you register with the Books. Listeners of our show save 20% off the bouquet of their choice. Just go to Books.com, enter promo code ROTO, ROTO. That's Books, BOUQS.com, promo code ROTOR. Books.com, promo code ROTOR. Let's talk some late slate baseball here. Emac, if you make your wife mad, don't forget to go to Books. Kansas City at Toronto, Aaron Sanchez, Edison Volquez. Sanchez, decent year. Volquez, not so much. Both these pitchers, relatively okay. Game in Toronto. Great hitter environment. Moving on to this 4-game late slate, we're going to need some bats here, but we're also going to need some pitching. You have any interest in Sanchez here?
I think we're going to kind of have to, only because there are not that many pitchers to choose from. By my count, there are 4 games. There are 8 pitchers, and I've already immediately written 4 of them off. So I think we're going to have to look at Sanchez.
Yeah. Pitchers on this late slate. Danny Salazar definitely has the upside. He's facing Detroit, which is a tough matchup. Archie Bradley's at home against San Diego, which is okay. And that late game, there's going to be probably a good amount of runs in Los Angeles. I don't love Sanchez, but looking at the other options,
because I mean, Julio Urias.
I don't know. I say it wrong every time. Didn't you see the forum post?
Yes, I did. The 19-year-old phenom prospect has a very difficult matchup going against the Baltimore Orioles, who, by the way, score 7 or more runs 1 out of every 4 times they've played this season. I don't know that we can go with him. Don't really like Giovanni Gallardo. Probably can talk myself into Archie Bradley, Salazar, and Sanchez, and that is it.
See, so the thing here is nobody's going to want to play Sanchez because it's at Toronto, and he's facing a team that we really haven't picked on in years. I don't hate him. I don't love him. Obviously, I don't love any option on this slate. I will say that, but you're going to have to take a shot, and why not take a shot with a guy that has a massive ground ball rate? It's not favorable at all for the ballpark, but some of your best bats here in the Kansas City lineup, definitely right-handed bats. They do have Hosmer and Morales, lefties, of course, but even lefties against Sanchez, he still has that 54% ground ball rate. He gives up a little bit more home runs, but you have to take a shot. Like you have to take a shot.
All right. Here's the reason why we're going to give him strong consideration, particularly on FanDuel. They have the highest odds to get the win at -180. That's very important. The Royals on the season against right-handed pitchers have the 22nd worst strikeout rate at 19.5. That is much, much higher than we're used to seeing. That's a good 3% up from where it has been the last couple of years. While it may seem like it's only 3%, that's a large increase when you say the percentage of the percentage. So they are slipping somewhat this year, and they're not taking the walks like they used to. only a 6.1 base on ball percentage, which looks like it is the second lowest in the league against righties. Do we have some undisciplined Royals now, Stevie?
We have a very weak lineup in general here. Interest. And another reason that we have the interest, like you said, the wind's going to be really strong for him. When we've looked at Volquez this year, he's a guy we want some bats against. We're not going to go crazy here, but I definitely think we can look at Donaldson. We can look at E5. We can definitely look at Saunders and Smoke if they're in the lineup. Oh, man. I don't know here.
All right. Well, considering Volquez got torched, was that 2 games ago? He had, it was like almost double-digit earned runs. He's got a 10.3 ERA in his last 3 starts, and he's lasted only 14 innings. I think Edinson Volquez, remember that he's Edinson Volquez.
If you're playing on FanDuel, which we're pretty much focusing on FanDuel now that we're done with the fantasy draft slate, Michael Saunders, 2,600. He's got to be a staple in your lineup here. It's just too cheap. It's a good matchup, good ballpark. He's got 6 hits over his last 9 at-bats and it's a good spot for Saunders. Definitely want to look at him. Like I said, I don't mind even Josh Donaldson or some of these, even Tulowitzki. I think you can look at the Blue Jays here. I think they're going to be popular. I think Arizona and the Blue Jays are where a lot of people are going to look here on the slate.
Yeah, I think we can look at Travis as a second baseman, 2,800. He got the day off today. He's been very, very solid against lefties now that he's healthy again. In his last 230 at-bats, a 380 WOBA, and a 210 ISO. Those are phenomenal numbers for this matchup for 2,800.
I tend to agree. If I'm taking any bat here, it's Morales for the Kansas City team. He's starting to show some pop. He has home runs in 3 of his last 4 games. This is a good ballpark for him. He would be the one guy out of Kansas City, and I usually am a big fan of Whit Merrifield, but Sanchez, dating back to last year, 0.18 home run per 9 and a 65% ground ball rate with a 20% hard contact rate to righties. Don't target the righties here for the Royals.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. This is going to be another spot where we may want to go slightly contrarian, put it in, one of those $1, $2, or $5 100-man leagues. Do a little mini stack against Sanchez with some of the Royals lefties. And if Sanchez has a bad outing, because so many people are probably going to be on him on the late slate, I'm guessing what, 40, 50% ownership perhaps?
No chance.
You don't think it'll be that high?
No. I'm guessing 20 to 25%.
Well, who else are we going to pick?
Salazar and Archie Bradley. Bradley against the Padres. Salazar has the highest upside on the slate.
All right. Well, let's amend that statement. What I was trying to go with this is on those little leagues, they're 100-person leagues, you can get a little bit contrarian. It doesn't have to be a lot. You don't have to, pee into the wind and tell somebody it's raining. You just need to get a little bit different, and those can pay off a lot. You can turn 5 into, $50 pretty easy. Now think about this. Do you play $5 in the fastball or whatever I'm forgetting what there's too many. They're all tricky with these names. But if you play the $5 contest on FanDuel and you finish in the top 5%, you're not going to get $50 back. Just saying.
Detroit at Cleveland. Daniel Norris, Danny Salazar. Daniel Norris, not Danny Norris. Good start in his last outing against Miami. He was a prospect at one time. He's showing a little bit this year, but here's the thing that really bugs me with Daniel Norris. Massive fly ball pitcher, doesn't get a lot of swinging strike rates, and he has a really high contact rate. A lot of home runs, not giving up a lot of hard contact, but a lot of medium contact, not a lot of soft contact. I think Cleveland's a really sneaky stack here.
Yeah, and the way they line up with their positions in their batting order, you can cover. Sorry, bad pun. You can cover your bases pretty easily between Napoli or Carlos Santana at first, Lindor at shortstop, Rajai Davis in the outfield, Gomes at catcher. You can check all the boxes there, and you can get a team that's pretty solid against lefties.
Yeah, Mike Napoli. God, gotta like Mike Napoli in the spot. You really do. Lindor, he's hitting lefties well this season. The problem is Rajah Davis, 3,200, very fair. Those three guys are probably the main targets here for me. But if you want to go different, man, look at Jose Ramirez, some of these other guys.
Do you think they're going to be a little bit fired up after losing 17-1 to the Blue Jays today?
I didn't know they lost 17-1 to the Blue Jays today.
Well, let's just put it this way. J.A. Happ struck him out 11 times.
I'm going to think everybody's going to be fired up because it's America Day.
It is America Day. Fired up for the fireworks.
That's right. Detroit, Danny Salazar. Danny Salazar, I'm guessing, is going to be chalky here. It might be wrong. I've been awful at guessing percentages this year, but he's been good just about all season. Look at his game log if you don't believe me. Over 47 fantasy points in 4 of his last 5 games. The one start it wasn't against was at Detroit. Salazar's been good. If you want to be contrarian today, stack Detroit.
I'm in.
When we're looking at Detroit's lineup, they have the upside. They have plenty of bats. They're on the road. You're getting guaranteed 9 innings. Salazar going to be the chalky guy. A lot of people, you don't play your bats against your pitcher. And if you're making multiple lineups, you still have the thought in your head like, oh, well, my starting pitcher is still Salazar in cash games. Do I really want to play against him in tournaments? Oh, we have a game in Arizona and we have a game in Toronto. Like, I think Detroit's going to be low owned here, and they definitely have the upside.
So you're saying instead of Aaron Sanchez, my gambit there with Kansas City, I should be looking to Detroit against Salazar in those leagues on FanDuel.
I think you can look at Kansas City as well. I think you were right on with them being low owned. I think they're going to be 2 of the lower owned offenses here, in San Diego, another one that we'll talk about here in a minute. But I'm all for some Detroit stacks. And with that being said, Danny Salazar has the highest upside of any pitcher on the slate. Floor-wise, probably not as high as some of these other guys, but upside-wise, highest upside on the slate.
Yeah, in 4 of his last 5 starts, he has at least 47 FanDuel points.
Yep.
That's pretty good, including a 50, a 60, and a 57.
We talked about Cleveland bats. I'm only going to stack Detroit. I'm not going to try to play one-offs here. Do you like any one-offs for Detroit?
No, it doesn't make sense. The only guy you could kind of argue would be Miguel Cabrera, but I'd rather go for the synergy play than a one-off with these guys.
San Diego at Arizona. Luis Perdomo against Archie Bradley. Arizona, chalk offense. Obviously the chalk offense. Jake Lamb breaks my model here today. He is an excellent spot. Love this matchup for him. What's your thoughts on Bradley against San Diego?
I kind of like him. He's probably the way I would go on the later slates. I don't like tangling with the Detroit bats, so I don't know that I'll be leaning towards Salazar. I'll probably be mostly playing tournaments, so it'll come down to somebody I think less people will be on. Bradley has the upside. I think more people will go to Aaron Sanchez than Bradley, and that's the route I want to go today.
This is why we do these shows. Archie Bradley, my favorite fade on this late slate.
Oh, really? Even with San Diego struggling as much as they do against righties?
I set you up on this one. I really did. It's because we're friends, Emac.
Oh boy.
So San Diego, when we're looking at the offense, best bats, Will Myers, Matt Kemp, Melvin Upton. As much as I hate to say that, he's actually having a good year. Matt Kemp, better against lefties. Will Myers, good against everybody this year. And when we're looking at Archie Bradley, he does have the upside. I agree with you there. But when we're looking a little bit more into Archie Bradley, hard contact rate to righties since being called up last year, still small sample size, 44 innings, 38.2%. At home in Arizona against their best 3 bats. I love playing individual matchups. I talk about that on the show all the time. Like taking the best bats from the team and looking at what the pitcher does against that hand. I do that a lot. Will Myers, one of my favorite tournament plays, like Kemp. I like Melvin Upton here. I really think this is a good spot to fade Bradley.
I don't have a good counter for that. I'm still going to probably stick to my Bradley guns, but it just shows that this is a tournament slate. There's too many things that can happen. There's just four games. So that's where you're making your stand. I will probably be on the opposite side.
And one of us will pay off. Looking at San Diego, we talked about San Diego. Let's look at Arizona here against Perdomo. We want to target him. It's still small sample sizes, but he struggled with lefties, righties. It hasn't really mattered what we've seen so far against him. He's struggled with them. I talked about Jake Lamb, one of my favorite plays. 3,400 is freaking ridiculous on FanDuel. He's going to be like really highly owned, and I don't care. I'm still going to play him.
Yeah, there's no reason to not play him. Good ballpark, good matchup, fantastic price. If you don't play him, Stevie, you're just going to lose.
Yes, he's not on the podcast. We can say it. Outside of Lamb, Bourne's been a pretty a very serviceable cash game option, batting in that 2 spot. He's only 2,400. I think you can look at him, and I'll let you talk about Paul Goldschmidt here.
Paul Goldschmidt, small sample size, only in his last 1,200 plate appearances, 394 WOBA, 240 ISO in righty-righty matchups. He gets mad props for doing well against lefties. He's turned into a complete hitter, and he's one of the best against righties.
Man, I couldn't have said it better myself. We need a catcher on FanDuel. Herman, a little banged up, late scratch on Sunday. We don't know why, but if he's out of the lineup, Castillo actually sat out Sunday as well. He should be back in the lineup, and Perdomo stinks. Can we look at Castillo here at 3,100 as our cash game catcher on FanDuel?
I think it's okay. I usually prefer him against lefties, but this is a tasty matchup in a good hitting environment. I would not be against it at all. And we're not spending up on pitching, so you can kind of have the luxury of paying 3,100 for a catcher today.
Last game of the night, and I guess you could look at Grandal as another catcher here. Urias against Hilardo. I don't like either one of these pitchers. Really, I don't. The Dodgers, they're so hot or cold. It's tough. And they hit John Gray, which pissed me off on Sunday, so I think they can hit. I don't like the pitchers here. I want to target some bats, though.
Well, it is Baltimore. They are the crooked number specialists. I think we can look at Jones. I think we can look at Trumbo. I think we look at Machado. That's probably where I'd end it. Julio Yu. How about we just go with that? Julio Yu, 19-year-old pitcher, has some pretty phenomenal strikeout stuff. He's getting stretched out a little bit more. I think this is a game where he takes a step back against this team. But those are really the only 3 hitters I want. Oh, Wieters will probably play too. I'm voting no on Wieters. 3,600, too expensive.
Trumbo would be my favorite, but I agree with everything you said. Don't mind Jonathan Scope, but his price tag makes him a tournament play only. You don't want to play him in cash games at 3,900, just too expensive. Looking at the Dodgers, Corey Seager. You know I love me some Corey Seager. Obviously my top shortstop on this 4-game slate. Gotta like Corey Seager here.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're looking at Giovanni Gallardo, he can get hit hard by pretty much anybody. He still has flashes of brilliance, but he's kind of a number 3, number 4 starter at this point in his career. Or, in 2 seasons, he's just going to become an innings eater. I think we look at Seager, Turner. Adrian Gonzalez has been so disappointing, but at 2,700, not against it. Probably not as a one-off, but as part of a stack with those other 3 guys. And then I think you can roll the dice on Puig or Thompson. Jock Peterson hit. Did he go to the DL? He's got a bruised, not clavicle. Did he go? Okay. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he should be back right around at the end of the All-Star break. So that means that Trace Thompson should be in the lineup. There would be a guy that you could put in the all-day slate, get him in the lineup later, and you're going to have him at about, 4 or 5% tops in tournaments? I like that play.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I like the lefties a lot more, but for tournaments, On a 4-game slate. I'm not going to really rule out a lot of people here, so I don't hate that play. My favorite probably still going to be Corey Seager. Don't mind Gonzalez's price; it's really cheap. And oh man, I guess you could throw Grandal out there because catcher's so weak on this 4-game slate, but he hasn't been hitting the ball at all.
No, I'm totally done with Grandal at this point. Maybe Chase Utley, maybe.
Yeah, Chase Utley 5 years ago. I'm all in for that. But
Chase Utley on a 4-game slate against a guy we want to pick on, probably batting leadoff. There we go.
Done.
Did I wrap enough qualifiers around that?
Yeah. Oh, that's going to wrap it up here for the slate. We're going to play some home run derby, 4th of July style. We're going to take 2 guys from the early slate and 2 guys from the late slate. Starting with the early slate, I'll already go ahead and write down David Ortiz for you.
Oh, thank you. So kind.
I figured that's who you wanted, right?
Of course.
Okay. Just I wanted.
I think I'm 3 for 3 on shows with you for picking him. And then the one show that we did when we were at the NASCAR event, we didn't play the home run derby. It's very sad.
No, we were a little busy. I'm going to go Josh Reddick.
Oh, okay. Well played. I do like that one.
Since you're taking my dude.
Yeah, that is true. So let's see. I am going to go with Stephen Piscotty, 3,700 outfielder on FanDuel, going against Jonathan Nice.
And my last one here for this early slate, 4th of July style. I think this one's going to be a little low owned. I'm going to go Freddie Freeman.
Okay.
He's El Fuego. All right, late slate. Let you lead it off here again.
Ooh,
I have like 5 or 6 down for this late slate, so I'm good here. Whichever one you take, I'm not even worried about it.
You know what? I'm going with Josh Donaldson.
It is. I'm going Jake Lamb. It's not even close. If you have Ortiz, I'm taking Jake Lamb, okay?
That's
we can each have our guaranteed dong.
That's fine. That's good to go. I am going to go. I'm going to go with Trace Thompson.
I don't hate it.
I need an off the board one. Those others felt a little too chalky. So there we are.
Will Myers, my next one. Love Will Myers. And since EMAC didn't take my other guy, I'm going to give you guys a bonus one. Mike Napoli is my bonus one here in that game against the lefty. EMAC, since we did a 4th of July version of the home run derby, I'm going to take out the early game, Milwaukee at Washington, and let you on the early slate. Doesn't have to score the most fantasy points, but give me a pitcher that's going to pick up a win.
Carlos Martinez.
I do like that call.
I think it might be it might be a little ugly, but I think he's going to get the win because I like the matchup against Nice.
I'm going to go Rick Porcello. Don't love him in the start, but I do think he picks up a win. And a bonus pick for you guys, really risky tournament play. My dude that I talked about that I actually do like quite a bit here is Tyler Anderson. It's a lot riskier win, but I do like him. Looking at the late slate, I'm not ruling out anybody, EMAC. Give me a guy that's going to win this game.
Well, I think I'm going to stand my ground and take Archie Bradley.
All right. I'm going to take Aaron Sanchez. I do think he picks up a win here. And as long as they're not losing going late into that game, I think that the Toronto Blue Jays win this game. That's going to wrap it up. Before we get out of here, we just want to say thank you to all of our troops overseas, making sure we do have this type of day where we can have a day of independence here in the United States. So thank you to everybody who has served or is serving right now. I know I get some military people hit me up on Twitter for questions all the time. So thank you to you guys. We wouldn't be doing what we're doing if it wasn't for past and present military. So EMAC, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Just one reminder, we have the Roto Grinders single entry series in conjunction with FanDuel. There are 2 slates tomorrow. This week will be the $25 single entry tournament. There on the early slate are 924 spots. There are already 200 filled in. We are about 12 hours away from first pitch. on the late slate, don't sleep on it. There's only 462, and there are already 70 in that one. So that's 20% filled, and we're a ways away from that start. So you don't want to get caught out in the cold on this one. And even though this is for the overall leaderboard contest, the thing you want to keep in mind is these are some of the largest single entry tournaments in the industry.
I talked about it with my good buddy Tommy G this weekend. I am so excited for a larger $25 and $50 single entry tournaments. I love these tournaments. So we'll see how many of you want to be contrarian with $25 instead of $1 in this part of the series. I'm excited because you know me. I've already locked in Tyler Anderson into my lineup here for this early slate. So,
well, I'm making my late slate team, and the first person in is Archie Bradley. So we play our picks.
All right, San Diego stack soon. I'm gonna have to lock in that. So, if you guys haven't checked out Fantasy Draft, like I said, they got a really interesting 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock slate here. Make sure you guys head on over, check them out. Only a 5-entry max, so you're really playing on a level playing field over there. Check them out. Use promo code Grinders. Get a 100% deposit bonus up to $600. And when you use the promo code Grinders, you get an incentives at Roto Grinders for Fantasy Draft for free for a year, which is $180 value. Also, don't forget to check out T-Mobile and Books.com, the sponsors of the Morning Grind today instead of the Daily Fantasy Fix. For EMAC, I'm Stevie. Good luck in your contest tonight, and we'll see you again tomorrow.